It's my pleasure to welcome you to the annual Christmas concert of our handbell choirs. And we did a very short segment of Carol of the Bells. And the reason I wanted to, and this we are going to play in our worship service in January, the full thing. But today, I wanted you to be aware, Carol of the Bells was written by a Ukrainian composer, Leon Tokovich. And he used a folk tune from the Ukraine for part of his composition. So I think today we are aware of their devastation and desperation, and perhaps maybe the joy of music will bring them some comfort. So this is why we want Carol of the Bells. Today, I am very happy to be supported by Bob Henn, Janet Ball, and Bob Bounds, and John Kinzinger at the console. So thank you all for coming, and sit back and enjoy.
Thank you, Jenny. Well, I'm Bob Henn. I'll be your host this afternoon. And you've already met our director, Virginia Longmire. And we also have Janet Ball as our accompanist. And Bob Bounds is our percussionist today. So when Bob gets wound up, why, hold your ears, because he's hard to tone down. Okay, well, we're certainly glad to have you here. It's an annual tradition to have the bell concert here at Christmas, and what a beautiful crowd to look out here and see everybody like this. So we're glad that you're here. Well, the Chapel Bells opened their program with an arrangement of "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day." And the words are written in 1863. You know, when we introduce songs, oftentimes we give the date that the song was written. And some songs that have been around for so long, you just think that they were written like 10 years ago or something, you know, brand new. But this one was written in 1863, and we know what was going on then. Longfellow wrote this and as a poem, and he was very depressed. Because the Civil War was on, and his son had suffered some severe damage and injuries during the Civil War. And so he wrote this poem, "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day," when he was very depressed. And here's some quotes that he wrote. He writes, "I thought how, as the days had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along on broken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair, I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the peace on earth, goodwill to men." But his optimism came forth in the last verse. Then pealed the bells, more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail and the right prevail, of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Oh, the chapel bells, aren't they good? Well, the chapel bells now ring, entitled On December 5 and 20, a Christmas carol also known as Fum, Fum, Fum. Okay. And the words go something like this. Comes a most important day, let us be gay. We go first to church and then eat the sweetest buns and candy. God will send us days of feasting, both in hot months and in cold, for young and old. We will tell the holy story, ever singing of his glory. The chapel bells. The next selection was written by Benjamin Hanby. Now, old Ben lived in Westerville, Ohio, and Marge and I were there at Otterbein College, and no, we didn't know Ben, but his house is a little museum right there in Westerville. And the thing that he is remembered, the song that he is remembered most for is Up on the Housetop. They sang that so much it almost became our fight song at Otterbein. But anyway, the Bell Choir today is going to present another one of Hanby's songs that he wrote. It's entitled, Who Is He in Yonder Stall? which is found in our church hymnal here, by the way. Benjamin Hanby originally wrote 8 stanzas depicting birth, the life, the passion, the death, and the resurrection of Christ. Now, this is not a very familiar song, so Jenny has asked Janet to play it through, and then you can sing the first verse, which is found on the back of your program, okay? And Virginia will cue you in when it's time to sing then. And all right, we're going to bypass the singing. Okay. Okay. Scratch that from the program, John, will you please? Okay. The next selection is a song that you've sung all your life. I know you have, since it was written in 1934. Santa Claus is coming to town. You've heard that. And it was first performed by an actor by the name of Eddie Cantor. Probably never heard of him before, but you know, all right. I heard a chuckle back there. Denny, you heard of him. I know you did. Yeah, okay. Anyway, his performance resulted in the orders of over 500,000 copies of his song, and 30,000 records were sold. So in the middle of the Great Depression, Eddie Cantor sang verses of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And he was encouraging listeners to be charitable and to help those that are much less fortunate at Christmas time. And it's still very popular today and has been recorded by over 200 artists. And so our choir is going to present now, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Another song that was written about 88 years ago, but certainly a very contemporary song today, is Winter Wonderland. And so this depicts a couple's romance during the winter season. It was actually written by Richard Smith while he was being treated for tuberculosis in a nearby hospital. He was inspired by the view from his hospital window, and there was a local park outside of his window that was covered with snow, and so he wrote Winter Wonderland. And our chapel bells are going to present to you now the Winter Wonderland. Oh, very good. Well, now the bell choirs are going to change places. And while they're changing, we're going to ask you to turn to the back of your program and find the words to Silver Bells. And with Janet at the piano and Virginia conducting, we want to hear you sing loud and clear, Silver Bells. Oh, give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Fantastic. If you want to hear that recording, why tune in the OLN when they play it back this week. All right. Well, the Joyful Ringers are on stage right now, and they're going to open their portion of the program with Christmas Bells Are Ringing. Lloyd Larson incorporated 2 tunes about bells in this selection. The first tune is Ding Dong Merrily on High, and that's the major theme. And then a dance tune written in the 16th century was what he based that on. But in the middle, slower part of the selection, you listen to a song or a tune, a melody that you've heard already. I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. So now, the Joyful Ringers. Well, how many arrangements of Jingle Bells have you ever heard? That's certainly one of the most popular songs here at Christmas time. And that's been around a long time, too. It was written 25 years before the Civil War. And so people have been singing Jingle Bells for a long, long time. And Bob's been practicing since before the Civil War, so we're gonna he finally got it down today. So anyway, one of the arrangements that you're going to hear today was an arrangement made especially for bells and hand chimes by a woman by the name of Valerie Stevenson. And the song was originally written for a Thanksgiving song. And, well, hi, Rhonda. Huh? There they are, huh? Okay. And so this was originally written for a Thanksgiving song back in Massachusetts, Medford, Massachusetts. It has often been sung at parties, and people would jingle ice in their glasses as they sang along. And so the song was inspired by the town sleigh races, which were very common back in the 19th century. And so that event of a sleigh race was described very briefly in the third verse of the song. Here's the way that went. You remember this. Now the ground is white, and go it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Just get a bobtailed nag, 240 for his speed, then hitch him to the open sleigh, and that's where Bob comes in. Crack the whip, and you'll take the lead. There you go. He's got it then. Right. Okay. So anyway, Bob adds the percussion, so listen carefully as he cracks the whip. And the Joyful Ringers, we're going to be singing Jingle Bells. Bob's been practicing that whip all night long, you know. You see him on OLN this morning? There he was, cracking the whip on OLN this morning. You know? Okay, we're now going to hear an arrangement of The Friendly Beasts by Michael Hellman. The music was originated way back in France in the 12th century, so the music's been around a long time. The words were written in the 1920s and used in a nativity play, and the play was entitled The Coming of the Prince of Peace. And the traditional song describes the gifts that the various animals brought to the Christ child on the night he was born. The donkey, the cow, the sheep, a camel, and a dove. And here's one of the verses. And every beast by some good spell in the stable dark was glad to tell of the gifts he gave Emmanuel, of the gifts he gave Emmanuel, the joyful ringers. I'm so glad you brought the children today, because our last two songs are just for them. And so I know they'll want to sing along in here. The first one is a song that was written in my lifetime, 1950, Frosty the Snowman. I think I remember that, yeah. And the original lyrics made absolutely no mention of Christmas whatsoever, but it's become a favorite of children singing here at Christmas time. So the theme is, of course, with Frosty, a group of children found a hat and placed it on old Frosty's head, and he laughs and dances and plays with them until finally the sun came out and melted him. Oh, how tragic. Okay. Anyway, the story originated in a town by the name of Armand, New York. And every year in the town of Armand, New York, they hold a parade in memory and honor of Frosty the Snowman. So here are the Joyful Ringers and their rendition of Frosty the Snowman. That was good to hear the children singing along with that. We got another one they can sing along to coming up here right now. And but a little background here. You remember The story, I'm sure you've all read it, probably the most popular song of all times for Christmas, excluding the Bible, of course. A Visit from St. Nicholas. Remember that? The other name, of course, is The Night Before Christmas. Well, that was written a long time ago, actually 25 years before the Civil War. So it's been around a long, long time. And when you're reading that story to your children, they've always got a question. They've always got a question, you know. 8 tiny reindeer? Where's Rudolph? Okay, so you've got to make it up or something, or I don't know. Anyway, Rudolph came along in 1939, and it was written by Robert May, who was an employee of Montgomery Ward's, a big department store. And so he wrote the story entitled Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Well, Johnny Marks picked up the story and put it to music, and so we have the music of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's still performed, probably the most performed secular Christmas music, and who always sings it? No, not Burl Ives. The Singing Cowboy, there you go, good old Gene Autry. So anyway, Gene Autry picked it up and recorded it in 1949, and it has been so popular ever since then. So the words are actually on the back of your program, and at a designated time, when you see Virginia turn around and conducting, we want you all to join in with the children, and Jenny and everybody sings Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. what talent we have in this room. I mean, watch it on the OLN when they play it back, and watch yourself singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Okay. Well, this concludes the major part of our concert. Let's give them another hand. I think they've just done a fantastic job. And so on the back of your program are the words to "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and we're going to sing that, and Virginia will conduct that. And we wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Virginia and the Bell Choirs. Merry Christmas, one and all.